Yes, this is a joke what if, but I don't care. I thought it was funny. So, let's start quickly. Do be warned, though, I warn you ahead of time. Both Gundam and Five Nights at Freddy's are very large in their lore, and confusing. But, let's continue. That's your warning to tell you that I might mess something up. If I do mess something up, please feel free to let me know down below. But anyway, let's get started, why don't we? Before we do that, even though I've said let's get started 3 times now, shout out to Professor Chimp. He's a really good what-iffer, much better than I am. And, he inspired this idea for me, so, yeah, you go check him out, and, let's actually start the what-if. The year is UC0084. The Federations and Titans are still cleaning up the remains of Zeon, 4 years after the One-Year War. To help deal with the morale and loss of troops, Titans want to make a self-combat suit, one which will fight all on its own against the Zaku forces. They hire engineer expert Gregory, a master when it comes to developing mobile suits. They give him free will to do whatever he wants, however he wants to do it. And so Gregory does. Gregory goes to Site 13, a site far out from the war and is mostly forgotten about. Gregory starts with something small and makes a small, friendly brown bear. And after finishing the model, he gives it to a pizzeria to make some extra cash. It does extremely well, until one day, there's a disappearance. Gregory's creation soon gets taken out and decommissioned, as one day the body of a child was found inside. But that wasn't the worst of it. The eye malfunctioned and started attacking civilians after trying to take out the body. Of course, they had to take the machine down, but Gregory was intrigued by this. So when building the larger new mobile suit, he based it off the Freddy Fazbear animatronic. This animatronic was larger than a GM2, but had less power and speed. However, it also had machine guns in its wrist, rockets in its chest plate, a laser rifle, a laser projector in its knees so that if it was in CQC, it could fire energy directly from the core and through its knees from the core to pierce the enemy. It was a prototype, so he dubbed it the FF84-1. One day, Gregory and the team were testing the machine, and an error appeared. The machine powered on and freed itself. It blew to the front door using its laser rifle to melt the locks. Various soldiers with rocket launchers and rifles tried shooting down the machine, but it disintegrated them with its own laser rifle. It sees the town and starts firing its rifle at that as well, blowing it up. He eventually runs out of ammo, though, and decided to attack the city with his hands. Michael Afton, the general of the Defense Forces, decided to go into Site 13's storage. It is filled with outdated suits, 3 GMs, a GM cannon, and a Zaku 2, as well as one box he was never told to open unless there was an emergency. He gets 5 pilots to suit it, and charges in. The GMs charge forward while the GM cannon gives covering fire with its cannon. And while they're doing that, the Zaku 2 is going to flank the enemy. Freddy shoved the laser off from the GM and fired its machine gun wrist, tearing the GMs apart and blowing them up. He then fired his missiles at the GM cannon, killing the pilot instantly. He then turned and grabbed the Zaku 2. However, he used its laser knee to pierce the robot. The Freddy then grabbed its head and slowly moved the laser through the cockpit and through the head, causing it to explode. It was far too advanced for those outdated machines to deal with. Michael sighed. He knew that it was powerful, but this was insane. Michael opened up the last box. Metallic and rusted, it slowly opened and a machine was rolled out. His eyes widened. Standing in front of him was a machine of legend. It was big, blue, and red. It was the RX-78-2, the White Devil of the Federation during the One-Year War, the Gundam. It was different, though. It was much heavier, with guns on its shield and a giant cannon on its shoulder. Reading the container, it was called the PF-78-1 Perfect Gundam. He got in and booted the machine, and then flexed its machine muscles, joints. What would a Gundam be flexing? Anyway, he ran through instead of blasting the door, and tore it open. He then used his boosters to charge towards the bear. The bear heard this and looked over. As the Gundam's eyes flashed green, the bears did the same. A spiritual acceptance of combat. The two machines ran at each other. Freddy fired the machine gun in its wrist, and the Gundam used his shield to block the bullets. The Gundam pulled out its two barreled cannons and fired, hitting the machine and exploding, knocking Freddy off its feet. But it wasn't down. Its chest was damaged, but the beam didn't pierce it. Michael pulled the trigger again, but the gun exploded. Shit! Michael swore. The machine fired more machine gun rounds at the Gundam, who again blocked, only this time Freddy ran forward and ignited its knee saber, piercing the shield. Michael let go, and Freddy deactivated and let the shield fall on the ground. Freddy and Gundam exchanged fire, the Gundam using the Vulcans and the Freddy using his wrist guns. Freddy's guns stopped working, and Michael also ran out of ammo. He was suddenly wishing he listened to his father when he told him to keep maintenance on the machine. The Gundam grabbed a punch from the Freddy bot and started to overpower the Gundam until it activated its thrusters, pushing the Freddy bot back and then picking it up, throwing it through some buildings. Michael realized as it got up that the Freddy bot had no thrusters. Michael fired his cannon, and the floor below Freddy blew up, causing the vacuum of space to suck Freddy in, along with plenty of other things on Site-13. But it had to be done. The Gundam let himself fall in and started to activate his thrusters. He started yelling, using his beam saber to cut off Freddy's head. He then grabbed its back and shoved the beam saber through its body on shoulder length. He moved around the saber, making sure to melt and cut everything inside the blasted machine before it started to spark and smoke. The Gundam used the Freddy bot as a boost while activating his thrusters to get away. The Freddy got exploded in space. Just as the replacement parts started to seal the Site-13, the Gundam flew in just in time and landed on the ground. As the Gundam fell on the ground and Michael walked out, he realized he'd done it. He had saved the colony. He walked into the room where the staff was supposed to be, angry at what had happened to his colony, but recoiled when he found it was nothing but bodies. Gregory had escaped, possibly to make more evil robots. And that's it. That is it. It's really short, but it was always meant to be short. It was just, what if Freddy was in Gundam? Will I continue? I mean, if I get at least 3 likes, then maybe I will. I'm also 10 days late as of the writing of this What If for April Fools, and now I'm 14 days, but I mean, I really only wrote this because I've been obsessed with Gundam lately, and it just kind of came to me. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this cringe, and I'm gonna go. I don't know. I guess I'll go bug Neptune.